What's up, everybody? As you guys can see, I've got some work going on behind me, trying to reorganize my studio for the Dad Dojo, but also use it for the Wayne In podcast. And hey, man, we've got a special guest. He'll be joining us in a little bit here, but I wanted to just kind of get on it a little bit early, man. I was already prepared, ready to go. I saw some news that it dropped a little while ago. Then we also have the Shavkat news. We've got a lot of things to talk about. But I saw that the Brian Ortega had pulled out. I think it was probably about a week ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. But against Moicano at UFC 3, I think it's 326 is where they were scheduled to fight at. Man, I think at some point that's his fight up at 155. He needs to take some time. He needs to take a little bit of a break. He needs to get his body right. He needs to just get focused on, look, my career, the rest of my career will be spent at 155 pounds. And once you acknowledge that, once you realize there's no going back, which I think he's done that. I think he understands that, look, this is where I'm going to be. There will be no going back to 145. I don't even want to attempt it. I don't want to try it. And I respect that. Hopefully that's what he's trying to do. But I think once that kicks in, I think his body will start to adjust. He'll start to carry the weight more properly. He'll probably avoid less injuries because he's not starving himself to get down to that 145 pounds. And realistically, you have a tendency to get better as a fighter because you are not focused on your whole camp being about losing the weight. And I'm not sure if you guys have heard this before, but I've talked about it a couple times, years and years ago. I used to coach corner, and I pretty much discovered Anthony Rumble Johnson hitting mitts at some shoot box academy down on some alleyway in LA. And I was getting ready for a fight, and he just so happened to be there. And I said, hey man, I need a body to roll with. He was a bigger guy. Obviously you guys could tell. He ended up finishing his career at 205 pounds. But he used to fight at 170. Those first 6 or 7 fights in the UFC, I was like coaching him and cornering him and working with him. And man, let me just tell you, we spent his whole camp focusing on getting his weight down. He couldn't get any better. Luckily for him, he was blessed with power. And with Brian Ortega, I think he just needs to focus. I think this isn't just for Brian, this is for a lot of fighters. If you're having to spend your whole camp focused on keeping your weight down, and your camp is suffering because you are spending all your time and energy losing the weight, you're probably going to be in good shape, but then you don't have the energy to get through the fight because you're cutting too much weight. We've seen it with Gleason Tebow. We've seen it with, other fight. Anthony Johnson. He had a tendency sometimes to slow down as well. I don't have a hard time saying that. And he would admit it to you. Like, there was times, especially at 170, he would slow down. In halfway through the second round and into the third round because he wasn't the same fighter. You starve yourself for that long throughout a camp, and it starts to come through, especially in that phase. Okay, guys, hey, we're going to be joined right now. The man, the myth, the legend, the guy who I love. If you guys have not had a chance to meet him in person or or around the UFC, being around any of those things, I'm telling you guys right now, Raging Iaquinta, he is joining the show today. My man, what is going on? There we go. I don't know if I got your audio. You might have to turn your mic on.
There we go. We got it now.
There you go. What's up, big guy? How you doing, man?
Turn the volume up.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah, this is awesome.
What's up, you real estate legend? I heard you're just crushing it up there, huh?
Dude, I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Doing all right. I'm heading for the championship, the real estate championship. You know what I mean? Got to work my way up. I kind of started all over again. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was getting up there with the fighting, and then things happen. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm loving real estate. I'm loving the business. Yeah, it's been incredible. Still staying in the gym. Still mixing up a little bit. You know what I mean? But not like I was.
No, of course not. You got responsibilities now, man. You got to put a roof over your head, take care of all that stuff. Are you a broker, or are you just do real estate?
I'm a broker owner. I opened an office about 3 years ago, almost exactly 3 years ago, in my hometown, Wantagh, Long Island, New York. We have about 20 agents, like I don't know, 16, 17 agents with the office. And yeah, it's
Hey,
been
you
good.
hustling, man. You're hustling. You're out there. And then I guess I think what you're gonna a lot of reason why I want to have you on, there's a couple reasons, but one of the biggest reasons, you and I always kind of hit it off every time we got together. We're at events, doing charity events or whatever it was. And I was like, man, we always had a good time, always chatted it up. And you and I are both a little on the wild side. And so, but it was great to get opportunity to get to know you during those times. And a lot of people, I think we've, as when fighters leave, fans in this sport, we're like, okay, see you later, sayonara. They don't hear from us ever again.
Absolutely.
In this situation though, like what were some of the hard things that you had to work through after you decided to leave the sport?
Well, yeah, I guess like your identity is definitely, I think I did pretty good with that though, because even though like I was still fighting and I was kind of like the real estate guy, people like have like whenever they see me, they kind of like make it like a joke. They'd be like, "Oh, real estate," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's good." And I'm like, "That's actually exactly what I wanted." Like I had people were seeing me like I knew I had a pretty serious injury early on in my career, and it kind of like opened my eyes. At the time, I thought it was the worst thing ever, but it was kind of like a blessing in disguise. It kind of made me see. I don't know. I think about it two different ways. Like it made me see life after fighting. I was like, oh wow, like this could all end tomorrow, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that got me on the real estate path. And who knows? Maybe like I kind of took all my eggs out of the basket and put a little here and a little there. Maybe I should have done gone all in with the fighting, but also like it could have ended any time. And it kind of for me was that was like foreshadowing for like later in life. And I had one injury in particular. And yeah, kind of like made me realize that, you're really all on your own with this thing. Is, you know what I mean? Yeah, they could all end. And if you're sitting there by yourself, there's no one that's going to help you,
Yeah. What was the injury you were dealing with?
I had hurt myself on the Ultimate Fighter, in the semifinal fight. Ended up fighting in the finals, but I had torn articular cartilage behind my kneecap, which is like so your kneecap is like this, right? And you're like, I usually put it on your kneecap's like this. The bottom there's cartilage, and I chipped a piece of cartilage off the backside of my kneecap. So pretty rare injury. It happens to basketball players, but the surgery that I had was kind of like a patch job. I got a couple of fights out, and then it really started to bother me, and I had to have almost like kind of like a knee replacement. They took cartilage out and plugged it with cadaver cartilage. It was a pretty wild procedure. I was the first MMA fighter that has ever gone through with this surgery, and the UFC was like, so first the UFC. Let me think about how to. So I had this injury, and I was like, I can't fight like this. I need to fix my knee somehow. I was lucky that I got the first surgery, patch job, kind of like held it up, called a microfracture. They poke holes in the bone, draws blood out, turns into fibrous cartilage. Fibrous cartilage is the shit cartilage. Hyaline cartilage is the good stuff. If they can create hyaline cartilage, no one's been able to recreate that.
Oh, interesting. Not even like through stem cell treatments or like any of the PRPs and
unless something's changed in the last 5 or 10 years since I had, I don't know, this surgery I had now is probably like 2016, 2017. So I found Hospital for Special Surgery, and this doctor at Special Surgery was like, we can do this surgery. I feel confident that I could do this surgery and that will get you fighting again. I went out to the UFC's doctor. He wasn't too enthusiastic about that. And then when they got the UFC, they were talking with me and doing this surgery hospital for special surgery in Manhattan. I sought out Dr. Riley Williams, who was probably the best orthopedist in the country at the time, might still be. But he felt very confident. Hospital for Special Surgery is one of the most expensive hospitals, I guess, around. A normal surgery would cost like 30, but because Hospital for Special Surgery charges like 60, it's the UFC said they would pay 30, and I would have to pay the other 30.
Fuck off.
So yeah.
And this happened during a fight or during the Ultimate Fighter?
During a fight. So I it was probably many years before. I had one surgery in between then, and at that time the UFC didn't really like me too much. I was kind of like, I was arguing about the pay and this and that. So they kind of like, all right, this guy's like the doctor from the UFC. I can't remember his name right now, but he was like telling the UFC, "Oh, don't let him do this surgery. He's not gonna be able to fight again," kind of thing. You know what I mean? So
it's weird how you can't get doctors on the same page.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you would think they would all have the same type of knowledge. They all go to these same clinics. They all meet up and they talk about these at events. And you're telling me that you guys can't come to an agreement that this is the way to treat this surgery.
Yeah.
This injury. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense.
And I couldn't afford at that time to pay 30 grand for a surgery and then be out for 6-8 months or a year. You know what I mean?
And even if you could afford it, you shouldn't have to, because the injury happened during the UFC. And we were told, and it says in our contract that it'll be paid for. Injuries that happen during the fights will be paid for. But little do we know, it doesn't mean, I didn't know this happened to you.
I still have the email. Me and Dave and I were going nuts. I was like freaking like, that's when I really had like the bad taste for like the UFC, and like, because I couldn't get in touch with anybody that could do anything, and the doctors were. It was like I was like losing. I lost my mind. I think I lost years of my life just like trying to deal with that. Ended up the Fighters Summit was like a couple months later, and I ended up going to the summit. I saw Lorenzo Fertitta. I cornered him, and I was like, "Hey, man," I was like, "I don't know if like I'm sure you haven't heard about what's going on with me." But like, and this was right after I fought Masvidal, you know what I mean? So I was kind of like getting there a little bit, you know what I mean? And he was like the coolest guy. He was like, dude, like I wish I would have known, like make it happen. You know what I mean? So I introduced Hospital for Special Surgery to the UFC. The Hospital for Special Surgery is now the UFC #1 spot. They're like in the cage on all the. I freaking made that deal happen. I didn't get a commission from it, bro. It's crazy. Been doing this shit from day one.
You got your surgery covered, but this people don't realize how influential Lorenzo Fertitta was to a lot of these fighters. Like there was moments where I could just call him and be like, "Hey, this doesn't feel right," and you'd get a little bit like you knew where he stood right off the bat. Okay, look, I can handle that. Or hey, Josh, you're asking for too much.
Yeah,
because he was quick to be, hey, I'm on your side, but it's got to be reasonable. And obviously in this situation, he felt that. And I think it's very important for fighters and fans to understand that there's all this stuff that goes on behind the doors, whether it's emails, whether it's text threads, or whatever it is. It's we get these responses from them that just seems very dry. You know what I mean? Like, oh no, we'll cover you this much. No, motherfucker. I hurt myself in this sport doing something for you that helped make you guys money. And whether the UFC was making money at the time or not, I don't know during that time frame. But like ultimately, I did it for your show, and our agreement was you would cover these.
Yeah.
You know, so you must have felt really almost just ecstatic. Like when they started offering insurance.
Yeah,
I was like, holy shit. I know it's a little bit of expensive, right? Like for me, I had an injury and you pay the one-time fee of $1,500 or whatever it was, and it covered the whole surgery. Didn't matter what it was, but you paid they covered the rest. I was like, all right, cool, I'm in. And you only used it for major stuff. You didn't use it for like if I had to go to the doctor. You're not using it for that, right?
Yeah.
But it was meant for major surgeries. And I think that was very eye-opening for a lot of fighters. Like, gosh, this is amazing. I have something if I really do get hurt during training, if I get hurt anywhere else, we would just say it was from training if that was the case.
Yeah.
But yeah, to use it for that situation, you had to go through all that process. And then now seeing where the fighters are at now, how lucky do these guys don't even realize how lucky they are?
Oh, man. Yeah. I mean, it seems, well, I still think there's work to do. There's still a lot of work to be done on that end. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, the fighters, I think it's all relative. And so in that case, I don't know. It's I go back and forth with it. You know what I mean? But
when you say work to do, like how so? Like what more can they do?
Well, I think there should be, in every other major organization like this, there's a collect, there's a union, or there's some representation for the fighters. Like the fact that this weekend or last weekend, the Paramount, that was a huge deal.
Yeah.
And nobody knows like what they're getting paid. There's like, you know what I mean? It was it was kind of like that I feel like that kind of stuff should be squared away, where like the guys are getting paid. And now, I mean, how much more is that deal going to benefit the company? You hope that the fighters are going to see that. And it's almost like, like the fighters of the generation before me didn't get to see the fruits of their labor that I got. You know what I mean? And now these guys are getting it, and they, you know what I mean? The fight, it kind of just passes everyone by. And you heard Justin Gaethje, a guy like that should never be talking about money. He should be, and to hear him like talk like, he wish he could have done better things with his money or whatever he said, just for him to like not be like balling out. Like a guy like that should be like have tons of money. Like he shouldn't even be talking about that bonus. What does Justin Gaethje care about a bonus? He's getting paid millions and millions of dollars. Like a bonus shouldn't be like a 50,000 bonus to Justin Gaethje should be like, dog, like, okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I got paid like, he should be getting paid like multi millions of dollars at this point. And it's just, hopefully, he's taking care of his body and like he can do things after fighting, because it can be tough. You know what I mean? You see a lot of these guys, they don't look, they're in it for, the war that they're in at the moment. And then after the fact, no one really thinks about that. And
no, they never do. Like we thought it was going to last forever. I got to be honest, man. At 22 years old, or I was 24, 25 when I fought Yves Edwards. And I was out there laughing, joking, having a good time, laughing and smiling and waving to Matt Hughes and Jens Pulver sitting in the front row in the middle of the fight. Like you're never thinking in that moment. I was never thinking the next 30 seconds I'm going to get knocked out, because I was dominating the fight. And I also was thinking like, he can't hurt me. He can't do anything to me. And then I'm going to fight the next round. I'm going to go on. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my night. Like you don't think ahead at that age. You're like, it'll be here forever. And then all of a sudden you get an injury like you have, and it shortens your career, or you start second guessing yourself whether like this is really what I want to do or not.
Yeah.
But you had sent out some text threads between you and Justin, because you guys were working on booking a fight against each other. And it was just kind of like you were trying to get a little bit more money, and he was suggesting that like, oh no, man, I'm good. I did my contract. I'm where I'm at. And when you heard him talking about the money, he was talking mainly about the bonuses, not so much the pay.
Yeah.
He was talking about the bonuses. But think about this. 14 bonuses, I think, is what he's gotten. 14 or 15 bonuses, and he hasn't made $1 million yet. And just bonuses. Yeah. Like you would be thinking fight. Those are fight of the night performances. Those are, knockout of the night or whatever it is. I mean, and you would be thinking, if you think about it now in the new format of they get $100,000 for that type of stuff, he'd be making 1.4 million. But that being said, he hadn't even made $1 million yet with the 14 bonuses.
Yeah.
So like that's the fighter's mindset is I'm going to get it now, but then they don't look far ahead. And it's only towards the end do they start bringing up the money.
Yeah. 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 And that's, it's like, the UFC's got it so good, man. They know exactly what they got. It's dialed in, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to get. It's really, I don't know how anything, could change. And it's kind of like, you gotta just be a company guy.
Well, why is it? Do you think the fighters don't want to work together? like I've always said this. I go like, you don't need all the fighters to do it. You need 4 to 5 champions because it's in their contracts. It's in their it's not in their but it's in like the TV rights deal that you need title fights. And if 4 or 5 champions are like, yeah, I'm not fighting for 6 months until we come to an agreement for all the fighters. That would really stick it to the UFC. Or look, we're not trying to stick it to them. We want them to be around. We love what we do.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you want to compromise. Like right now, they're making 17% or 16% of whatever the revenue is. Yeah. Like I feel like if you do baby steps, let's get it to 21%. Let's just start it there. Let's get it there, and then we'll talk about it. And then also, too, why are we having to have these? Why weren't these $100,000 bonuses or $50,000 bonuses cooked into my contract? I should have already gotten a finishing bonus, a submission bonus, or a knockout bonus, or a TKO bonus. It should always be cooked into your contract. You get more money no matter what. Not a discretionary bonus. It should have been, hey, if I knock you out or I submit you or whatever, I finish the fight early, I should be getting some sort of bonus. Those should have already been kicked into our contracts.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and that the text message thing that I released, like, I don't know. I was kind of like, I heard him talking about money and I just got triggered. I was like, you can't talk about money. Yeah. Remember what happened fucking 10 years ago? We could have done this fucking money thing together, but that was probably a point where something could have been done. Something big, maybe not, baby steps, I don't know. So in negotiations, the biggest tool that you can use is the willingness to walk away. If someone knows that you're willing to walk away, you can hold all the cards because it's like, all right, either I'm not worth it or I'm out, And at that point, I was willing to walk away. I had been injured. I went through this whole thing. I had the surgery. At this point, it's like I'm getting paid or I'm doing something else. I'm not. I think they wanted me, honestly. If I told you what they wanted to pay me to fight Justin Gaethje, you'd be like, "What?" I got paid. I think I got paid. Could it have been 20 and 20 to fight Diego Sanchez? It might have been 20 and 20.
Jeez.
So then I beat him. So then it would probably went up. It was like 22 and 22.
Yeah.
24.
$2,000 and $3,000 increments is what it was.
In July, they want me to go to Nebraska. In July, I live on Long Island. You want me to go fight Justin Gaethje in Nebraska for 22, 24, maybe if I win 45. I'm like, yo, fuck this. I go, Justin, fucking, you should be getting paid more too, bro. Let's fucking tell him we're going to either not do it or pay us fucking money. You know what I mean? He was happy with what he was getting. And he fought James Vick. He got a big knockout. That was a big fight for him. So I can't really blame him, but I was just hearing him talk about money. I was like, motherfucker, you can't talk about money, bro. You freaking, but he can. And I get it. At that time, you're making money. You don't care. I had this injury that made me different. I thought I navigated different from an earlier stage than I think a lot of guys, they see it now, towards the end,
Yeah, fighters don't start thinking about that until they've only got 3 or 4 more fights left in them. And by then it's too late. And I've tried to tell people, because I agree with you that Justin Gaethje, we shouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah.
Not even about bonuses. We shouldn't even be having these conversations about bonuses or anything. This motherfucker has put in, he's 14 fight nights or whatever. This guy's made the UFC so much money. And I'm not here to knock the UFC and their pay. What I'm here to say is, fighters, man, grow a pair.
Yeah.
Is really what it comes down to. I'm not saying that we all it won't take long if you get 5 or 6 champions to go hey, we're not fighting until we make this. Let's just up it by 3%.
Yeah.
Can we get a 3% or 4% increase? And we'll just call it good for the next 5 years.
Be a lot of money.
A ton of money. A ton of money.
Yeah.
Let's just have this conversation. And look, we're not trying to rub you guys wrong. We want the sport to grow just as much.
Yeah.
But Justin Gaethje shouldn't be having to talk about money at all. I mean, that guy has put on some of the most spectacular fights that I think the sport's ever seen. You know, so and I think a lot of people are gonna. And I said the same thing about Dustin Poirier.
Yeah,
is that when they're gone, we're like, shit, we lost another OG. We lost another one that just laid it on the line every single time.
Yeah.
You know, and they'll be too late. And then the last thing is, think about this. They're like, oh, that guy made so much money. Dude, these guys in the NFL and these guys in the NBA, they make millions and millions and millions of dollars. You know, like LeBron James is a fucking billionaire. Like, don't tell me that these guys can't burn through the money. Remember Andre Rison? I think he made like 400 million or some shit. Broke. Mike Tyson made 300 something million, 400, 500 million now to date. Like, broke. Like, don't tell me that people can't burn through this money.
Yeah.
They find ways to live that way, and it's unfortunate, but simply put, doesn't like you have to learn how to manage your money as well. You've got to learn, you know, I think you being in the game that you're in with the real estate, I don't know how many houses you own or how many properties you own or how many commercials properties you own, but it goes a long way if you invested properly as you came along.
Yeah. You know? I definitely made some good moves, invested, bought a couple of rental properties that, like after the fact, like that's, you know, that's a huge investment, you know, money that could very easily be spent, blown quickly, you know, you sacrifice, you put it down payment, build equity in that property, maybe some cash flow on the side. Like that's what it's about. And I was blessed. I had Uriah Faber was my coach on The Ultimate Fighter, and just like what a smart business mind. And I was able to just see what he had going on. I went out to Sacramento and trained with him a little bit, and that I credit a lot of it with him. He's just got a great business mind, and he you know also preached real estate and investing, and don't blow your money, invest it the right way. So I've been really blessed by, like, I could have had any coach on The Ultimate Fighter, you know what I mean? But I had Uriah, and I think Uriah really, like, I probably got the most, like, I think out of like being around him. I like to think just anybody really, you like guys that I look up to, like, you know, when I had the experience to be with him, I just soaked it all up, and I saw that investing, you know, in real estate, saw how successful he was. I was like, I got injured, and I was like, Uriah said real estate. I'm getting my real estate license. I'm figuring this out. So
I had my real estate license in California for years.
Really?
While I was fighting, and then, you know, I did okay during that time, and then the fucking 2008 hit, and everything just crashed. I mean, that was a shit show for a bit, but in that time, I got lucky because that was when I was making the most money fighting.
Yeah.
And so during the 2006, 2007, right, I was doing refis. Basically, it was families, just doing my family and friends, just refi real quick, you know, do cash out real quick, grab some cash on a quick refi. It was easy, fucking easy as hell to do it. And then you know, I just moved to Texas about 2 years ago. So now I'm going through the process of getting my real estate license here.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah, start doing stuff here and stuff. But I own several houses, you know, a couple in California, a couple here in Texas. But one thing you got to do is just make sure that you've got some properties that are generating some income. They don't they don't need to make you rich, as long as you have renters in there and they're paying for it and equity's being built up, and you can cash out, you know, $600 to $1,000 a month off of something. Shit, you're golden. And you know, the ones that I bought here in Texas, I bought in 2001 and 2021 and 2022. And
3% interest rate.
Yeah. Yep. They all, you know, they're all almost tripled in value in terms of equity. I mean, the part is in Texas, though, you got to pay the property tax here. It's fucking ridiculous.
Is it a lot?
Oh, it's so bad, bro. Like, $1 million house or a couple other houses, right? Like, I mean, literally, you're paying property tax like almost 30 grand.
In Texas.
Yeah.
Really? And coming from California, you would think.
No, because California, what it is they have Prop 13 that keeps you from, they can't raise your property tax more than like 1.2% or something annually. Oh, wow. And then you can have it reassessed anytime. So if something goes wrong with your house or it's like the values just drop in the area, you can have it reassessed for it to drop. So when I bought my house in 2010, I mean, I bought it for like 5 something. It's worth almost 3 now. You know, so it's just equity all through it. So it's been really well. It's done well. So my biggest regret during that time is not buying more houses during that time. Because everyone was afraid to see what the market was going to do.
Yeah. You know? So like I think Uriah, he did during 2008, trying to think what the timeline was. 2008. I think he bought a bunch of houses.
Smart.
You know, and when everyone was getting foreclosed on, he was filling them up with his fighters, and they were paying them. You know, they were paying the mortgage, and you know,
smart.
Yeah.
Because I had a house for a bit. So when I was living in California, and I was one of the very first guys at AKA. I had Trevor Prangley, Phil Baroni, Paul Bonatello, Brian Ebersol, John Fitz, Sean Shirk, all lived with me. Yeah. They all stayed and lived. Rich Crunkleton, like Pat Minahan, like they all lived in my house.
Like a motley crew right there.
Yeah, they all lived in my house. They all lived in my house, you know, throughout their camps, you know. And so when I had the house, I just basically, you know, leased the rooms out to them, and it was a fighter house, you know, and they paid the mortgage on it, and then turned around and sold that and bought my other house, you know, and stuff. Yeah. So just kind of upgraded as I went, and but like I said, my biggest regret was just not buying more as time went on. That's kind of that was the hard part. I wish I would have done that, to be honest.
Yeah. You did great. It sounds like you did great.
We did okay. You know, you just got, like, that's the thing though, is that you got to think ahead a little bit. And I was like, gosh, you know, like, you don't want to put your money in the stock market. I have no clue how the fucking stock market works. You know, I've got money in there, but I'm always like, I just put it in there, and now I deleted my fucking app that shows me what's in there. I just deleted it. I'm like, don't look at it, forget about it. And it's worked out for me. I've put money in there, you know, 12 years ago. And I haven't seen it. And I just recently, when I see it almost every year when I file my taxes.
Yeah.
We were looking at it the other day just because we're getting ready to file taxes. And I was like, oh, wow. I'm like, we're okay. We're not doing so bad. Nice. We got lucky in some areas.
Yeah.
You know,
what about Bitcoin? Do you do Bitcoin at all?
No, I don't do any. I did Bitcoin a long time ago. I had one coin. I just did it, but it was, you know, I think I paid like $4,200 for it, and then I sold it when it hit 19. Because remember when it hit 19, it dropped. Yeah, like dropped. It was about, you know, and like I saw it hit 19. And I think it got up to 22 or something, and then it started dropping down to like 19, 18. I sold it. I think I sold it for 18 something. And then it dropped all the way back down to like 11 or 12, and then it obviously it is where it is now. And I feel like a fucking retard. Right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you a question. Is there anything you look back in your career and you think to yourself, man, like, I could have done this a little bit differently?
I don't know. I kind of always did it my way, you know. I feel like the things that I did at the time probably weren't like when I cursed out the crowd. That was it, like after the Masvidal fight. Like that was, I think, like the best thing, you know what I mean? And then I didn't get the bonus against Joe Lazone, so I wrecked the hotel room. And it was like fun, you know what I mean? I think if the UFC, I don't know. I feel like if the UFC would have like embraced that a little bit more, it would have been better. But I did it my own way, and I think that was you know, if I would have done it any other way, then I probably would regret something. You know what I mean? But like I did it my way. The way the fights that I took, I did the most with them. If I didn't take a fight, it definitely wasn't because I was scared of anybody. It was because I had, you know, I kind of saw it for like after my injuries, I definitely saw the sport a lot differently. And you know, I felt like I was like in there just entertaining the brass rather than like being like the man. Yeah. And I battled with that a lot. You know, I battled with like, and when I was growing up, I looked at the fighters and I was like, any fight, I was like, they were kings to me, king. And then once I got in there and like I had like a little thing, now I'm like, am I really the king, or am I the guy that's like not the king? Is the guy beside the king? You know?
How many fighters do you think their career is shaped around whether Dana and the matchmakers like them? I've seen so many fighters. I've talked to a lot of fighters. They're just like, bro, these guys don't even fucking like me. They don't care whether I do well. They don't care. I'm like, I said, hey, it's not their job to care whether you do well or not. But some of these guys were like, they were so eager to like try and make Dana and and Joe Silva at the time, like trying to make them happy. Like, I want them to like be like, great fight, man. Like, I'm like, they're not going to do that. They fucking see thousands of fights every year. They're not going to care. Like, you're one fight or 2 fights a year versus the 1,000 or 1,100 they have to fucking go through every year, and now it's even more because you got Dana White Contender Series, tough, all this other shit. They're exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
I've seen fighters just they've sabotaged their own career because they're looking for that validation from Dana or from Hunter or Mick or any of the matchmakers, Sean Shelby. They're looking for that.
Yeah. It's a crazy game. You got guys, you got to be true to yourself. I think if you're not true to yourself, the fans will see right through it, whether it's promoting, if it's the way you fight. If you're not true to yourself in your skill set and you're playing to your attributes, if you're not smart in there, that's not going to go your way. Like, you got to fight to win. But like, you see, like a guy like Merab, did it himself. He did it his way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they did not like him for a very, very long time. And it was just crazy to me because I was like I know him from when he from the beginning, like how awesome that guy is,
Yeah.
Like, he's cutting the stitches out of his head and Dana's shitting on him. And I'm like, no, dude, that's why Merab's the fucking man. Like, you own the UFC. What do you want? A little like girl that like has to like freaking, go to emergency surgery to get the stitches out? Or do you want the fucking guy that's fucking just ripping the stitches out? He doesn't give a shit. And he's like, that was like, to me, I was like, oh, that's why Merab's the best. Like, you're kind of like shitting on the guy that's like that's why the fucking guy is the best. He'll fight anybody. He'll fight 10 times in a year. And, like, that's so it's guys like Merab that like. And then there's guys like O'Malley that just get like thrust up there. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't know. Yeah.
It can be frustrating, I think, for a lot of fighters to be like, fuck, dude. Like, I put in all this work and you can just see the favoritism a little bit. It does bother a lot of fighters and somewhat they sabotage their own career.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to impress the bosses.
Yeah.
They want to go out there. I did want to ask you, obviously about the Khabib fight. Do you have any regrets in that fight? That's one. Two is, how did that whole thing come about? Like, the week of, like, what was going on? Like, phone calls, management, and I know your manager really well, and he's a good friend of mine. And like, how did it all come about? And like, was it easy to get the deal done, or was it,
that was the craziest weekend of my life by far. I'm fighting Paul Felder with the first fight of the night. We're opening the main card, so we're the main card opener, and we go to the media day. I stare down Paul Felder. We get on the bus. Freaking bus is backing up, and a freaking dolly comes. Freaking things exploding. People. I thought there was like a terrorist attack or something.
Yeah.
But the freaking thing just comes through the window. People are slamming on the bus. I go, what the? Then we see Connor run around, and I was like, oh shit! I pulled out my phone. I started videotaping. But then,
do it for the gram, baby.
Yeah, I was like, I pulled my phone out right away. I was like, oh shit! We got this crazy motherfucker. What is he gonna do next?
The UFC in one breath is like demonizing it. This is the worst. They can't believe he did this. But then when they had the Conor Khabib fight made, they fucking used that footage every fucking chance they could.
Everything. Yeah. And then Khabib was sitting right behind me, So then the cops come. They're like talking to us. Khabib's like right next to me. And I was like, at the time, I was like, I don't want to get too friendly with this guy. We're probably going to fight one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sure enough, the next morning, Max Holloway, they're like, I see on Twitter was like huge at that. That was the only like Instagram. Right? It was like all Twitter that time. And I saw like, oh, they're saying Max isn't making it. Now, Chiesa was on the card. Anthony Pettis was on the card. Paul Felder was fighting. So it was like, who's going to get it? You know what I mean? So I weighed in at 155.2. which was I made weight, but for a non-title fight, I don't think and I was the closest because I was only 0.2 over.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, with my underwear, I said my underwear weighs 0.2. You know, I made championship weight. If you weigh my underwear,
yeah.
So it was like, what's going on? Nobody really knew. I went downstairs and I saw Sean Shelby from like across the hotel, and he really kind of didn't like me at this time because this whole thing with the injury and like I pulled out of a couple fights and I was like being a real prick about money and stuff. And I was like, yo, Shelby. I was like, I'm your man. And he was looking at me. He was just like, but I got a call and they called me and they were like, bring your underwear down to the weigh-in room. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, they're really gonna weigh my underwear. And if it's 0.2, then I think they're gonna give me the title fight, you know? I was like, should I put water in it? Like, should I wet it a little bit to make it heavier so it weighs 0.2? And the doctor that our gym's doctor at the time, she was like, it weighs 0.2. You don't need to put water on it. They're gonna they're gonna feel it's wet and not like like they're gonna start some shit or whatever. So I went down, I weighed it. It weighed 0.2, and they ended up not counting that. They said they're not recognizing it because you weighed in 0.2 over. They're not recognizing it as a title fight, but the UFC said they would recognize it as a title fight, I guess. So, but yeah, the fight, man, I just, it all happened so fast, What
was the increase in pay for that fight? A significant amount? Like they knew that you were helping them out?
Yeah.
Like when people say, oh, the UFC took care of me, did they take care of you for real?
Honestly, for a title fight, like, so I was like, I don't care. I was like, I don't care what the fuck the pay is. I'm fighting him. Like, just get, because I knew Anthony Pettis probably could have got the fight, but he asked for too much money. I think he kind of priced himself out of it. He was like, I'll take the fight, but for whatever it was, $1 million, something. And then Chiesa had the glass cut, so it was like down to me or Felder. And I was like, if I try to fucking negotiate, they're gonna give it to Felder or they're gonna give it to somebody else. And I was just like, I said, Dave, I said, don't go too hard with the negotiation. He was like, who am I talking? Like you? Like, you don't want me to go hard on the negotiations? Like, what? I go, just get me the fight. I said, this is the opportunity. And it was good. I got a significant pay bump for the fight. And then after that, I think it did a lot of good for me. So going forward, I, had a good run after that a little bit, So, but yeah, the fight was just, it all happened so fast. I was like running on adrenaline. I didn't sleep for like you don't sleep the night of the weigh-ins, but then you usually sleep like the next night. But there was so much craziness. Like, I was like adrenaline just carried me through that whole weekend. I was in shape for 5 rounds. I was training. We usually train for a 3-round fight, usually train like 4 rounds. So, you got like, and then you got 1 round on just like adrenaline, you know what I mean? I'm always in pretty good, like I'm, I could always like, dig deep and that's what I had to do. But yeah, he's just, the guy's a freaking animal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. And I know. Every day I knew it was fucking something or other.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a different fighter as he got closer to fight shape.
Yeah.
Because his weight was down. Normally when he came into camp, he would be, 185, 188. And I was always walking around 170.
Yeah.
So as he got closer to the fight, and his weight started coming down, it was a little bit more manageable. But man, those first 3 weeks were fucking miserable.
Yeah.
Because he was just physically so strong. You could feel everything about him, like just the way he positioned himself, the hips, the heaviness, all that stuff. But I want to go back to the Merab talk because, like you said, the UFC wasn't really high on me. They didn't like me. They were upset with me about a lot of negotiation stuff. Merab went through some ups and downs, but it was never about money, or it didn't seem to be.
No.
It was more about just his style, the way he fought. But then something happened during that whole Sean O'Malley and Aljamain Sterling build up where, he takes Sean O'Malley's jacket and like, he's just doing these bits with the wigs and the rainbow wigs. He developed a personality for social media that I got to be honest, man, I wasn't a fan either, but he won me over.
Yeah,
I became a huge fan of his up until he fought my boy Umar. But I mean, I was a fan. I'm still a fan. Like I think he was great for the sport. I love what he did to help build his own brand.
Yeah.
And I think he just he embraced it. He embraced it like, oh, you don't like me? Well, I'm gonna show you why everyone likes me. Everyone thinks you're a great guy. Well, let me see why you're a great guy. Because of your personality. And I can see why the two of you guys get along because he's fucking hilarious.
Dude, he's so funny. He moved, you know, he moved to the country and really didn't speak any English. So like we didn't really like, we knew you could tell somebody that they're an animal, you know, in the cage. But like outside of that, we couldn't really. But then as he started to learn English, we were like, and we kind of got an understanding of like what he was like. I was like, we're like, oh shit, this guy's fucking hysterical. He's awesome. He's like just the nicest guy, you know, really just so happy for that guy. And yeah, like he did it, you know, he did it his way, I think. You know what I mean? He he said he wasn't fighting Aljamain Sterling, which they didn't like, you know.
To be honest, I didn't like that. I was like, you're gonna have to fight him. What happens if he's there for another 2 years?
Yeah,
2 years of your prime, like you don't have a lot of time to make money in this sport. You know that, and that championship money hits different.
Yeah,
it's a lot more money, and so and I can respect. I respect the fact that he did that. But if Aljo didn't lose to Sean O'Malley, he might still be champion right now.
I think the plan was eventually to go up either way. You know,
makes sense.
But even then, I don't honestly. Merab's the kind of guy that would have just been number two forever. That's that's who he is. Like he credits Aljo with so much of where he is now. Like that. Like that's like to me. That's like, you know, more than money. That's more than anything. That's like true. Like that guy. He doesn't give a shit about anything, and I think that's a big reason why he is where he is. He's just, you know, he's not thinking about the money. He's more like he's so happy to be in the United States, to be fighting for the UFC. Like that UFC means more to him than any, like that's like, you know, he was probably just dreaming of that over in Georgia, and it was so far away. For him to realize that dream and win the title, and now, you know, the accolades that he's built in the UFC, it's incredible. It really is like it's the American dream. You know, if everybody that came to this country like looked at Merab and like idolized him, like that's the guy you want to be like. You know what I mean? He's a one of a kind. You know.
What was the talk? Were you part of any talks or conversations with him at all during this time of him trying to take this fourth fight? Like no one's ever done it before, defending your title 4 times in a year. And then obviously everything in hindsight, I say 50-50 is a joke, but hindsight's 2020. And knowing that like it ended up costing him his title. I feel like it was just too much in a year. Your body needs rest, you know, and moving on. Was there any conversation with him like, hey man, let's just go ahead and dial it until next year. Let's take some time and enjoy the holidays?
You know, he's been out in Vegas. I'm sure he's, you know, without, you know, I know that he burned out the whole team. Like the whole team, this whole team was like, Merab, like what? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's who he is. Like you know, I think that it was an opportunity for him to do something like crazy. You know what I mean? He went for it. But I agree. I think, you know, he and Peter Yan looked great, you know. So it could be like a little bit of this and a little bit like, you know, Peter Yan had been training for Merab probably since the day he lost to him. And Merab is going 1, 2, 3, and now he's got a month to train for Peter Yan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he like jumped right back into it with injuries, with everything, and Peter Yan's, you know, just training for him. So it would have been a crazy feat. You know, it's almost like he's the champion, but he's almost like putting himself at a disadvantage. He's like the underdog, kind of like, you know, if you know like what you're looking at, like you said, like, you know, taking it 4th fight in a year is crazy.
That's wild, man. It's wild when you're just training for 3 rounds.
Yeah.
If you're able to get 3 or 4 fights in a year, you're like, damn. And then adding those 2 rounds for each fight, it's 2 rounds of wrestling, grappling, kickboxing, boxing, mitt work, bag work, running, sprinting, long runs. Like it's 2 rounds extra of everything. It's not just like, oh, I just do 2 rounds one time. No, it's for everything.
But and like I don't know though, because Merab, he's a different dude. Like he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, so there's never like, there's never like a bounce back. There's never like he's like down and coming back. Like, and he's got like this crazy cardio that's like probably half genetic. It's probably half nature, half nurture. His genetics he's probably like able to do that genetically. Some people just aren't probably able to ever do that. And then he also works out like an absolute animal.
Yeah.
And he just likes to like spar, and like he just like spars 5 rounds every day. You know what I mean? So like, I think like if there's anybody that could have done it, it would have been him. But it's a lot for anybody.
I would agree. Hey, my man, I want to get you out of here, man. Thanks for your time. But man, talk to me. Tell me, give me if people are in the area for you to look you up, your brokerage, and how to get a hold of you if they're looking for a place to buy.
If you're looking to buy, Manhattan to Montauk, Bayville to Sayville, and everywhere in between, Iaquinta Real Estate right here, the epicenter of Long Island, Wantor, Long Island, New York. Buy, sell, rent, invest. If you need me to kick out a tenant that's giving you problems, give me a call. That's it.
You've got him. All right, my man. Hey, man, thanks for your time, brother. We'll see you later, my man. Take it easy.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers, brother. All right, guys. Hey, we're gonna go ahead and carry on with the rest of the show. But look, Brian Ortega, where we had left off, and look, it was great to actually catch up with Al, man. I haven't seen him in a while, and we were just chatting back and forth. And man, it's one of those where like you see guys that we kind of, I don't want to say came up with because I was a lot older than him, but just seeing him grow in the sport, seeing how good of a guy he was, like being around him and socializing with him several times, like those are the kind of people that you really want to kind of surround yourself with, He's got different perspectives from the East Coast. I'm from the West Coast. Like I always enjoyed sitting down and having conversations with people like him. And you can just tell he's got a big heart, man. The people that he's connected to all have big hearts. Connected with, Merab and Aljo, and, it's friends with like, Frank Yeager and those guys, also friends with, a lot of those, Chris Weidman. And like, they have that connection. And I love to see him have success after he's done fighting. So if you guys are in that area, man, looking to buy a house or looking to rent a house, looking to do anything like that, hit him up, man. Give him a try. All right. Well, look, there's some other things that I want to check. I didn't talk yesterday about it, but I did talk about there's a video down below. What was the video I did yesterday? I talked about MVP, the fight announcement of MVP yesterday. And what is it? Sam Patterson. I talked about that video yesterday. I released a video about that. And man, what was the other fight announcement that we just talked about? What did we just talk about yesterday? Jeez, I've been busy all week. There's been a lot of stuff going on this whole time. But yeah, we talked a little bit about the MVP. I talked about MVP, his style, his contrast on that. And then, geez, man, I feel like a total moron because I just forgot. But check out the video down below. Sam Patterson. What was the other fight that was announced yesterday? A huge fight. You guys help me in the comments here. But look, let's go ahead and talk. Shavkat announced today basically that he'll be out, and from what I understand, that he will be out for probably about 9 months. And he wasn't an active fighter because of injuries. And I think I saw somewhere too where Ian Gary was trying to stake claim, basically saying like, yeah, I'm the reason why he hurt his knee and this and that. Well, he hurt his knee in the fight, and he still lost, buddy. So, I feel like it's weird to go ahead and take a jab at him now and just like be like, oh yeah, I did it. Lerone Murphy and Evloff. Thank you, Lazy Bed. Thank you so much. I did that video yesterday, and I guess I proved my point. If you guys watched that video, was that people kept talking about the Diego Lopez getting the automatic rematch and how the fight was very similar. And in that, and the reasons why I felt like that Diego Lopez got that rematch was because of this situation that just happened. Memorable names that stand out. And in that process of like me talking about, like, what did I talk about yesterday? and not remembering Lerone Murphy and not remembering Movsar Evloev, and the fact that I broke it down for like 15, 16, 17 minutes, something like that yesterday, is because they are good. They're fantastic fighters. Obviously, I think number 1 and number 4 in the rankings. Fantastic featherweights. Love watching them fight. But Diego Lopes just has a different aura about him. And that may all change after this fight with Murphy and Evloev. But I think Evloev. Someone sent me the pronouncement phonetically today. I'm like, hey, could you just do this for me? I'm like, yeah, so I'll give it a try today. Evloev. And Lerone Murphy is great on the feet. He's got great lateral movement. He's got great striking, and obviously very crafty on the feet after we watched his fight with Aaron Pico. But Evloev is also somebody that can get the fight to the ground, close the distance. He's got heavy hands. He just chooses not to throw them a lot because his wrestling and his grappling and his control is so good. And in that fight, the reason why I felt like Diego Lopes got the fight was because of that. It's because Diego Lopes has thrown caution to the wind. He's not worried about hitting the ground. He's not worried about keeping it on the feet. He fights everywhere. And not that Lerone and Evloev can't. They just choose not to. They choose to fight at their strength. And Diego's got a whole country, 2 of them actually behind him. He has got Brazil behind him, and he's got Mexico behind him. And so I felt like it was a no-brainer for them to run that back, being one of their first 2 fights on their new Paramount TV deal. It made sense. But what I love about the Lerone Murphy and the Evloev fight is that we get a clear-cut number 1. Now, I know that Lerone Murphy came out today as like, oh, no, like we shouldn't take anything for granted. If we don't perform, we're probably not getting the title shot. He doesn't think that. I don't think he believes that. I think this is really, you'd have to really lay a fucking goose egg to not get a title fight off of this. Both of you guys have been waiting patiently. Not only that, but then Volk's already beat the number 2 and number 3 guy. He's already beat Diego Lopes and he's already beat Yair Rodriguez. And then Evloev is number 2 or number 1, and Lerone is number 4. So whoever wins this fight gets a title shot. You'd have to lay, like I said, a goose egg. You'd have to have a really shitty fight for the UFC not to give you a title shot against Volkanovski. And I think for Volk, he has been preparing for Lerone Murphy and Evloev. He's wanted one of those 2 guys. I love that he had came out after his last fight with Diego and was like, hey, I thought I was fighting one of those 2 guys, but they threw Lopez in there and I'm fine with it. But now we're going to see a clear-cut number 1. Both of them are undefeated. I think Evloev is he's 19-0, and Lerone is 17-0-1, I believe is what his record is. And it's going to be a fantastic fight. Great fight. Shavkat has been out since the Ian Gary fight. Has not been able to return, dealing with injury after injury. And from what I understand, as I'm hearing, another 8 to 9 months, maybe even up to 10. And what the sad part is, I believe the last time he fought, which is against Ian Gary, he was 30 years old. If he's out for another 9 months to 10 months, that will be 2 years of his prime wasted away in injury. And I went through such a very similar situation. I had 18 months where I was out, where I broke my ankle. I tried to rush back, broke it again above the plate that I had put into my ankle in 9 screws. And as I felt healthy and came back, I broke it again above the plate again, above the break that happened the second time into a 3rd break. 3 times I broke my ankle in the same spot, just slightly above it every single time. So the frustration and the motivation for Shavkat to get back, you could tell. Why the injuries keep happening is because he keeps probably trying to rush to get back. I've wasted this much time. I've been sitting on the sideline. I should be getting better, and he's not. And it's I think as a fan, we're obviously very frustrated. But as a fighter, it eats at you. You have a window that is like this much. This is your time, that small window to be elite. You know what I mean? And he's losing two. He will have lost almost 2 years of that elite time. And then eventually getting to the title, no one knows if you're going to win it. But that being said, he's minimizing his chance to ever win it. That 29 to 32, I feel like, is your ultimate prime. You're in that man strength. You're in that physical fitness strength. Like your cardio is damn the best at the time. Like you're feeling yourself. You feel unbeatable, especially if you've got momentum going. And I feel for him, man. He's an extremely talented fighter, obviously a fan favorite. They left him in the rankings for as long as they could. They were, I think they took him out of the rankings today. The UFC did. But in that, they have left Colby Covington in there. Colby Covington is still in the rankings. Fucking baffles me. Let me just pull this up. Someone pulled this up today, and I actually took a little screenshot of it. I'm going to add it to this. Here you go. Last fight for Shavkat was 416 days ago. Or sorry, that was his last fight. It was Colby Covington's. Last win was 1,431 days ago, yet he's still now officially ranked higher than Shavkat, because Shavkat now has been removed from the rankings. Make it make sense. I get it. Take him out of the rankings. But Colby still being in there is oof. Shavkat, though, I hate to see that much talent go to waste. I hate it. I want to see him get the opportunity to at least challenge for the title. You know what my ultimate fear is? This is what my ultimate fear is. Is that, everyone, you guys all know I'm a huge Islam fan. Is that Islam wants to fight the best guy. So he wants to fight Kamaru for legacy, and he wants to fight Michael Morales. And I think a lot of it was he wanted to fight Shavkat. In fighting those three guys, one being a former champion who many, Dana has come out and said he was the welterweight GOAT. Islam wanting to fight him for legacy, and then wanting to beat the other two guys in the weight class that are undefeated. It makes sense. And then I think what's going to happen is we may end up losing Islam in the welterweight division. You know what I mean? We may end up losing that. He may end up just having the two fights. He'll maybe beat Kamaru Usman, turn around, fight Michael Morales. And I think then, there'd be no reason to stick around. You could end up seeing him go. And then there'll be new blood that comes in, obviously. It'll be fantastic. But I think Shavkat was a little bit of a motivator, I think, for Islam. No different than how Michael Morales is, and no different than how Kamaru Usman is. Like these guys, when they get to that level, they want the fighter that motivates them the most. But it's I feel really sad for Shavkat basically not being pulled from the rankings. And I know it had to happen. We can't keep having guys in rankings that are inactive. And if he's going to be out for another 10 months, I understand. Let's not pretend like the UFC won't slide him right back in when he's ready to come back. He'll have to get a win and come in, but they'll give him somebody that's very winnable, and then they'll throw him right back into that top rankings depending on how he looks. But he'll go back into the top 10. What is he, 17, 18-0? They'll give him a fight somewhere in the top, 15. And how he looks in that win. And then if he wins, and he looks dominant, they'll put him right back into that top 7 or 8 probably. They may even streamline him right to the title because of the work he's done before in the past. He's undefeated. So I can see that. Very sad news, though, I think, for fans, especially for the UFC, and I think for the whole welterweight division, because it's really starting to shape up like, damn, we've got so many great fights to have. And one of the best welterweights in the world just decided that, or not, he didn't decide, but just so happened to be injured. And that's what sucks. That really does suck. So I was hoping to see him, I was hoping to see him fight soon. If it wasn't gonna be Kamaru Usman next, I was hoping it was gonna be Shavkat. Because Ramadan ends, I believe, March 17th. You get right into that April, May. And I was hoping and Shavkat was talking about coming back right around the middle of February. I was hoping for that. So, but that's definitely not happening now. So hopefully he gets well, he feels better soon, and hopefully we see a healthy Shavkat when he comes back. Let's go ahead and jump right into the fight card. What else did I have up here for you guys? Oh, there was we'll talk about this afterwards. Well, let's talk about the fight card real quick. And this is one of those cards where if you look at the betting odds, I think somewhat of it is like, okay, look, we've got to match these guys up with some name value. And when we match them up with name value, we're going to get, I think, the clear-cut winner. Kind of the person that they're thinking is going to win. But I mean, if I'm looking at the fights, right? I look at Bautista and Oliveira, I'm thinking to myself, man, I feel like it's going to be a close fight. But I can't take away what Bautista has been able to do recently in the sport. He is getting better every single time he gets in the cage, and he's a very active fighter. He's been very active, and he's fighting some of the best guys. So when I looked at the odds, I was actually surprised to see that they were this close. Bautista is a minus 185. And Oliveira is a plus 154. Now, if I was to break this fight down and tell you guys, Bautista's, I believe, has got the better wrestling. Bautista, the striking's probably not the same. I don't think it's on the level of Oliveira's, but he is, I think, a little bit more defensively sound than Oliveira. Oliveira leaves himself open quite a bit. He's very hittable. Bautista will go ahead and put this pressure. I think he will grind on the takedowns if he needs to. He will mix this fight up and make it a very kind of just aggressive, overwhelming fight, I think, for Oliveira. Oliveira is flashy. Oliveira is going to do wild things. Spinning kicks, spinning back elbows. He's going to wrestle a little bit. He's going to punch off of these combinations or wrestle off these combinations. He's going to do a little bit of everything. When it gets kind of chaotic in there, that's where he shines. Whereas Bautista is the opposite. He likes to slow the fight down. He likes to keep it all under control. And I think that's how this fight's going to end up going. Bautista has a way of making other fighters fight his style. And what I mean by that is that fighters don't know what to do with him because he's so calm and composed out there. They don't know how to get him out of his game. But he also has a tendency, because he stays so calm and composed, to let fights slip away. He could have done a little bit more. He could have won the fight. He could have done this. So that could happen. But in a 5-round fight, I'm going with Bautista. The cardio's there. The experience of high-level competition is there. I think the confidence, even though coming off the loss to Umar, I think his confidence is there. Like, shit, that guy, he fought for the title. I should be fighting for a title. I had moments in that fight where if I would have done this, done that, I could have probably won. I think he believes. There's fights you walk away from where even though you lost, all it did was help you. It helped you mentally prepare for what's next. When they say you learn more from a loss, it's absolutely true. 100%. And I think Bautista learned way more from his loss to Umar than any other fight he ever had before in the past. Because I think it answered a lot of his own questions in his own mind of hey, do I deserve to be out here? Or he knew he deserved to be out there. Can I take him down? Can I do this? Can I do that? And all those questions were answered. What do I need to work on to get better to be at that level of fighting for the title? And Umar's not even the champion. I'm just using that as an example. But I believe that he is more confident now than he was before. I don't think Oliveira has, I don't want to say he doesn't have a chance. He has a chance. He's got a puncher's chance. He's got a wild kick punch chance. I think he's got those kind of chances. And as the fight goes on, I think those chances start to slide away. They start to slip away. I think Bautista is the more sound fighter. He is the more relaxed fighter out there. I think he's more composed. I think he understands the game a little bit more. I think Oliveira is wild and fun to watch. But one or two mistakes could put him in a lot of trouble. Same thing can happen, though, with Bautista. One or two mistakes could have Bautista in a lot of trouble as well. But I mean, I think this is Bautista's fight to lose. I was surprised, to be honest, that the odds didn't have him more of a favorite. I thought it'd be like a minus 210, somewhere in there. I thought it'd be something like that. But no, they got him at minus 185. But Bautista, I think this in a 5-round fight, I think this is his fight. The next fight, Amir Albazi versus Kyoji Horiguchi. Now, the odds maker, they were not shy about this at all. They didn't hesitate to throw Amir Albazi under. They were like, nah, we're cool. Horiguchi is one of the best flyweights in the world and has been for the last decade. Horiguchi is a minus 375. I mean, look, let me just tell you, I think when I talk about fighters when they come to the UFC, right, they have those like jitters a little bit. Horiguchi's already been there. So the jitters, it almost feels like they're not there anymore. Maybe a little bit. Maybe when you get fight week, but when you get inside that cage, they're not there. It just feels like, okay, I've been in the UFC cage before. I've been in a UFC stadium before. When I fought for the UFC in 2001 to 2004, I'd been there. So when I came back in 2010, 2012, whatever it was, 2010 is when they bought the UFC, I think, or Strikeforce, sometime around there. But when I had my first fight for them, it was like, I don't know, it just felt like being back home. I knew a lot of the people that still worked there. Burt Watson was there, Donna was there, and like there was a lot of employees that were still there that I had worked with, from the early days. Great people. So for Horiguchi, it was no different. A lot of those people were probably still there. Probably a lot more interns and other people that were working their way up. But the hardcore unit of people that we used to talk to and deal with, I think we're all still there. So I feel like Horiguchi just feels right at home, and he has seen and faced everyone. And I want to remind people, he's got 5 losses. I want to say 3 of them or 4 of them are against 35-pounders and 45-pounders. He wasn't fighting in Bellator. He was not fighting at 125. He was fighting at 135. When he went back to Ryzen to fight over there, he would fight at 125 against fighters that were his size normally. But all of his fights that he ever had in Bellator, he was fighting guys that were 135 because we didn't have a 125-pound division. Let me remind you, he won the title there, I believe. It was right around the time I got there. He was the champion. And then he ended up, maybe that was I don't think it was 135. Then he left and went to Ryzen for a bit. And then he came back and they entered the tournament and tried to win the 135-pound title back. Came up short. But I don't think Amir Albazi, he's not fast enough on the wrestling. He's not dynamic enough on the feet. Horiguchi is extremely fast and explosive. I know he's getting a little bit older. He's 35 years old. Still has a little bit left. At that age, in that weight class, he's got another year and a half, depending on when his birthday is, before he starts to slow down a little bit. But he's probably still faster than all those guys. Unless you get a DJ out there, right? But he's explosive. He's fast. He's got big power in his hands. He mixes it up really well. His takedown defense is fantastic. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see in a world where Albazi is able to get it done. I don't think Albazi can catch him. I don't think Albazi can cut the cage off well enough to really kind of pigeonhole him into a corner and be able to get a takedown. I don't think he can strike with him at all. Horiguchi is fast. He's got power. He's got great movement. Every fighter that I've ever talked to out of American Top Team said he's like the leader of the pack. They all love Horiguchi. They're all talking about how great he is. Such a leader in the gym. Think about being the leader in that gym. What does that say? What does that say? That gym. Dustin Poirier, like T. Wood was there. I mean, like you had Robbie Lawler was there. Like you want to go J-Check. I mean, like Masvidal. You've got so many. I know I'm missing a ton of them, guys. Calm down. Johnny Eblin. Like you've got tons of fighters out of that gym. World champions and just fantastic fighters. And they're talking about this guy, Kayla Harrison. I can't leave her out. Talking about this guy being like the one that everyone kind of like asks questions about or looks up to or just loves being around. That tells you a lot about him, man. Tells you a lot. You know what I mean? So I don't see a world where Amir Albazi beats him. Doesn't mean it can't happen. I get it. This is the fight business. This is how it happens. I get it. Jailton Almeida versus Rizvan Kuniev. I'm gonna go. Look, let me just read off the odds here. So Almeida is a -145. I expected Almeida to be an even bigger favorite. I expected him to be like a -200. Reason being is because I expected him to maul Kuniev and get him down. No different than how Almeida was able to maul Curtis Blades and took him down over and over and over again until he got tired. But he took Curtis Blades down multiple times that first round. He like ragdolled him. Kuniev, I think, is going to get ragdolled also in the first round. Now, here's the question. Do you believe in Jailton Almeida's cardio enough to get him through 3 rounds and be able to hold Kuniev down? That's where the question lies. And the betting odds doesn't seem like they believe that Almeida can take him down and hold him down. You understand what I'm saying? I'm looking at so you have Kuniev as a +124 and Almeida as a -148. I don't know. I was, like I said, I was shocked when Almeida wasn't a -200 favorite. I was shocked because I thought after, because Kuniev's last fight was a loss to Curtis Blades. I mean, I know Almeida's, he's extremely talented, very good fighter. I look at him and I think to myself, he has all the tools. So Almeida lost to Volkov, which if you listen to Big Ange, he cries about it. Like, oh, he didn't lose that fight. He didn't lose that fight. His loss before that was to Curtis Blades. Then he had 40 fights in between there. I'm exaggerating, by the way, before he lost again. So Volkov is, he loses to Volkov in a split, and then he loses to Curtis Blades by punches. He gets KO'd. But he gassed out. So I think that's maybe what the odds makers are looking at and going, all right, well, Curtis Blades' last fight was Rizvan Kuniev. And Curtis Blades won by a split decision. That's what the odds makers are looking at. But I honestly believe in a 3-round fight, the Jailton Almeida can ragdoll Kuniev for 2 rounds, and he's got to survive. He's got to survive the 3rd round. I would agree with you, Garrett Clemens, Sports. Was it you that said? Oh, no. Sorry, it's Meat Rocket. He says right here, the Jailton Almeida is a one-trick pony. I would agree with you. But his wrestling is good enough, and in the heavyweight division, his wrestling is good enough to get everyone down. Now, the question is his cardio good enough to hold people down? You can get people down, but you've got to be able to control them and hold them down. Now, I don't know if he can do that for 3 rounds. And will Kuniev have enough cardio and conditioning to finish him in the 3rd round? And we saw what happened just last weekend with Tai Tuivasa and Teixeira. Tai gets taken down 2 rounds, and neither one of them has cardio in the third. But Tai had moments to get Teixeira out of there, and he couldn't get him out of there because he didn't have the cardio. Will Kuniev have the cardio to get Almeida out of there in the third round? Because I think that Almeida has the cardio to get takedowns in the first and the second and the control to hold him down. I think that. But the odds makers are calling it kind of almost an even fight. -148, +124 for Kuniev. So let's go ahead and talk Oleksiejczuk. I don't know how you say this guy's name. Okay. And I butcher it every single time. Big John and I used to laugh about it because Big John always used to like really enunciate it, like as if it made it sound like he knew how to say it. And I always just make fun of him because when he couldn't say a name, he would like go, like he would say it that way. And it made me laugh. But he's fighting Marc-Andre Barriault. This is one of those fights where the odds makers look at him very much how they look at Horiguchi. They believe that Mikhail Oleksiejczuk is a -410. -410. That's wild to me. But Marc-Andre Barriault has been caught several times and been knocked out several times. So I can see why they're going with that because this fight will be on the feet. I don't think that Marc-Andre Barriault's got the cardio, or not cardio, but the wrestling to get Oleksiejczuk down. He may be able to get him down. I don't know if he can hold him down. But I like this fight. See, some of these fights, when you look at the odds and you look at the card, you're like, okay, this could be a fun fight. You know, maybe you don't know them very well. Maybe you're like, okay, this guy has stand-up, this guy has stand-up. But there's levels to the stand-up. And there's levels to fight IQ. And the odds makers know that. So if you're not sure, like how the card's going to be, take a look at the odds. And don't just look at one. Like right now I'm pulling from DraftKings. But take a look at the odds. And go, okay, why is this guy a -410 when they seem like they're pretty evenly matched? But in reality, there's levels to the stand-up. You know, I just feel like, once again, Oleksiejczuk is going to be one of those guys. He's a dog of a fighter. Not that Marc-Andre Barriault is not. But if you catch him in the chin, he goes to sleep. And I think that this fight sets the stage at a -410 for Oleksiejczuk. I think that it's people have seen enough to be like, okay, look, Oleksiejczuk has got this in the bag as long as he stays defensively sound and doesn't try to make anything doesn't make any mistakes. He can make a mistake here or there, but he can't leave himself wide open. Don't get into a brawl with Marc-Andre. Just let the fight happen. Let it happen. What's up, Alejandro Gutierrez? What's up, my man? Yes, and see, this is where I'm at. Meat Rocket is bringing up a good point. Marc-Andre Barriault has been locked out a bunch of times, and that's what scares me. Like once it goes, it starts to go. Once you start getting knocked out. He's also 35 years old. Oleksiejczuk is 30 years old, in the prime of his life. Marc-Andre's got his hands full. And Marc-Andre, like he doesn't have a high fight IQ. I love watching him fight because he does not use a high fight IQ. That's normally why people love watching the fight, certain fighters. It's because they don't fight smart. So if you're looking to put any money on these fights, I'm just giving you guys some odds and kind of where I'm at on it, and you guys make your own decisions. You guys can go to wewantpicks.com/offer. Use the promo code ANDSTILL. Take a look at their analyzer. Take a look at their AI, bot or their AI thing, and it'll help you break down like why you should pick certain fighters. There's also people that have already selected who they've picked that you can choose from as well. Kind of listen to them. They have videos on there as well. So you guys can check them out at wewantpicks.com/offer and use the promo code ANDSTILL. And I'm just telling you guys, it's a good little tool to have if you guys are people that like to bet. They don't place bets for you. They are not a sports book. They just give you information at that website for you guys to formulate your own opinion. You know, so it's pretty cool, man. It'll tell you like how many strikes they land per round, you know, what their significant strikes are, how many takedowns they normally get. They give you all the stats, and it's all broken down. I think it's pretty cool. So if you guys want, use that. It's $10 a month. You can cancel anytime. You can also do, I think it's like $90 a year or something like that, with the $10 off if you prepay. And then I think it's like $300 for a lifetime. Try it for 1 month for $10. If you don't like it, cancel it. No hassle. So I would do that. Give it a try. WeWantPicks.com/offer. Use promo code ANDSTILL. Let's go ahead and talk. You've got Farid Basharat versus Jean Masamoto. This, to me, is the fight that will set it off. I think this is a fantastic fight. But I was very surprised to see that Matsumoto was a underdog at plus 235, and Basharat is a minus 290. Now, I knew that Basharat was going to be the favorite. He's undefeated. His style is, I love his style. I think he's got the cleaner striking, doesn't leave himself as open. He's a little bit more explosive. At least that's the way I feel. Like he's cleaner with the striking. I feel like he throws his straighter punches. And I also feel like he mixes it up, his wrestling and his striking, better than Matsumoto. Matsumoto, though, is the thicker, I think the heavier, I know they're going to weigh the same, but he has that thicker, dense body that I think is going to give Basharat some problems. Matsumoto's not going to be he'll be maybe easy to take down off a transition because Basharat is very good at getting to the takedowns off of his striking. I just don't know if he has the ability to control him and keep him down. He has the ability to get the submission. There's no doubt about that. I think he's one of those guys where he can really try to work for the guillotines, the back, and all these. Like he can try to work his submission game, I think, on Matsumoto. But it's a fun fight. I think it's a fantastic fight. All these guys, here we go. Yep. Farid. I think it's Farid. Farid is undefeated. That might be why he's. I don't really look at it that way. I really believe that when they're looking at these, when they're looking at the fighters, sure, the record has a little something to do with it. But I think they also look at styles. And I think when you look at the two of them, the Basharat is the cleaner striker. His entry into the takedowns are cleaner. His transition to the submission, once the fight hits the ground, is cleaner. Those are all finishing sequences. And when I look at that fight, I go, man, he's a little bit better and cleaner in all of these little transitions than Matsumoto. And I like Matsumoto. He's a fun fighter to watch. So I hate to see him lose, but he's a plus 235. And then Basharat's a minus 290. But I think overall these fights are pretty good fights. But if you look and you see you'll notice the ones that are obviously they're heavily favored. This is one of those cars they're trying to sneak in against another name that is good, but that fighter is also heavily favored. Like if you would have thought, right? Like Horiguchi, the casual fans, like this guy he's only had one fight in the UFC since a long, long time ago. He's fighting a ranked guy. He's fighting a really top guy in Albazi. Albazi's been here for a while. He should already, he should be able to handle him. Nah, people don't realize how good Horiguchi is. They're overlooking him because he's been gone for so long. And Oliveira, age has a lot to do with it. 33 or 30 years old, whereas Marc-Andre Barrio is like 35, I think, or 36. That makes a difference. 5 years towards the end of your career after you've been knocked out a couple of times make a difference. Betting odds are looking. If you're older than the other guy who's in his prime, striking wise, you've been knocked out quite a bit. I think he's been finished as well, but definitely not as frequent and as recent as you. And that's the way they're looking at it. So That's going to wrap up our UFC talk for this weekend's card. Also, the Super Bowl is this weekend. Who do you guys got? You have Seattle. And who's the other team? Seattle. You have Seattle, and who are they playing? Jeez, man, really? This is how bad it's getting. I'm a Chiefs fan, so once they didn't make the playoffs, boo. Yeah, I think Seattle's going to end up running away with it, but I do know I've had this conversation with people several times. The Pats. Oof. That's hard because Vrabel's such a great coach. Vrabel is a fantastic coach. Pats are going to be tough. But I'm still going to go. Chiefs. Oh, wait. Sorry, Seahawks. I'm still going to go with the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are going to get it done. I like Vrabel, Coach Vrabel. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great coach. I love what they're doing over there, making some great improvements. Think about that. What, first or second year is, I think first year as a coach there. Super Bowl. That's fucking wild. It's wild to me. There was one last thing I want to talk about. This right here. We have a situation where Dana has come out apparently and said Dana White calls Pereira versus Jones the fight to make for the White House. And I'll go ahead and read you a little something on this thing here, because he is Dana White at 205 pounds, fight light heavyweight. That would be the fight. But can I count on Jones? I can't have John Jones doing something bad or pulling out of the White House fight. That's where Dana's at right now on this. So I understand that. I actually, to be honest, if this was not going to happen at 205, I expected them to put Alex Pereira versus Cyril Gane for the interim title at the White House. I thought they would do that. And I really, to be honest, wouldn't have been surprised if they didn't use Cyril Gane and they used John Jones versus Alex Pereira at heavyweight for the interim title. I wouldn't have been surprised. Because guys like Alex and guys like John, they don't, even though the belt's cool, they don't give a shit if it's the interim or if they don't care if it's the undisputed. They don't care. They're out there to get the cash grab. Both of them have plenty of belts. They don't care about having another one. That's the fight to make. If it's not going to be Conor, then it's going to be these two. I think people were saying that for a long time, and I was like, I don't know. I think Dana's pretty pissed off at John Jones. I didn't think that was going to happen. But I could see it happening now. What do you mean? Alejandro Gutierrez, what do you mean? What do you mean? What about Jones and Aspinall? Aspinall is out. No idea when he's returning. He had a second, I think he had a second eye surgery, again. So he'll be out for a bit. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're in discussions right now on figuring out whether to strip him or not. Meat Rocket 69. I'm forgetting that Alex Pereira is now a high-level black belt under Glover. Yeah, black belt has nothing to do with your wrestling. John Jones can wrestle. Did you see the John Jones working with Gable Steveson? Did you see that one? Alex is not stopping that takedown. That's why I was against this fight. I was against this fight because I don't think it's an even matchup. Whether they do it at 205 or if they do it at heavyweight. Alex can't wrestle at John Jones' level, and I think this fight gets to the ground within the first minute and a half. Maybe even less. And it doesn't do anything for me. I'm not overly excited to see it. Of course, I'm going to watch it. But I'm not overly excited to see the fight. I would love to see Alex Pereira versus Cyril Gane. A striker's delight. I would love to see that. The other fight I'd love to see is Max Holloway versus Conor McGregor for the BMF title. If Max beats Charles Oliveira, I would love to see that fight. You have an American fighter at the White House fighting the UK fighter or Irish fighter for the BMF title because we're the baddest motherfucking country in the world at the White House. Makes sense. You have Max Holloway from Hawaii, small little island, with the success that he's had throughout his whole career. Jeez, man. Yeah, let's go ahead and have this conversation. Whole lot, well, whatever that is, Sticks 347 or whatever it is. Let's go ahead through 3646. Can we talk about Kane? What do you want to know? How great he is? How wonderful of a person he is? What a family man he is? What a loyal friend he is? How big of a heart he has? He's a great, great human being. I don't know what else to say. He's a fantastic person. Cain Velasquez is one of the greatest people I've ever met in my whole life. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, I would love to see Max Holloway retire Conor McGregor. I would agree. Love to see that too. All right, guys. Well, hey, I'm going to wrap this up, but it looks like we may end up seeing that fight between Jon Jones and Alex Pereira if the Conor McGregor fight, I believe, falls through. I don't believe they're going to do Jon Jones, Alex, and Conor McGregor and whoever. I don't believe they're going to do that. I think it's a ton of money on the line. And man, I think you're not going to get as many more views if you put more Jon Jones and Alex. You're not going to get more views if Conor's already on the card. I don't think you're going to do a lot. What about Sean Strickland and Khamzat? I would love to see that fight, but it sounds like for UFC 328, it sounds like it's going to be Khamzat versus Imavov, which is fair because Imavov has been patiently, quietly waiting for his shot. I don't know, but I think the UFC appreciates that. They're like, okay, look, this guy has been, hasn't said shit about us, has been trying to, training and getting better. That's the fight to make. I think also too, if Sean Strickland gets past Fluffy, I think what you do is you make Khamzat versus Imavov, that fight, and then Fluffy, if Fluffy and Sean Strickland, if Strickland gets past Fluffy, then you can have him fight the winner. You understand what I'm saying? That's the fight to make. I like that fight. I do like, and then I think eventually after that he bounces, because by then Alex Pereira and Jon Jones, they'll be gone. They'll be out of this in the next year. I don't see them fighting very much longer. I also hope Kayla Harrison recovers here pretty soon. She will not be back in time for the White House card. There's no chance. They're saying it might be even like early next year. They're hoping like she can start training full time again by like end of August or September, that she might be ready to fight by December. But I think safety first, and we go from there. So, all right, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this show. I want to thank you guys so much for continuing to support this pod, man. Thank you. And if you guys can, man, do me a favor. Share my content across your guys' social medias. And thank you so much for continuing to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed. And hit the bell for notifications. I've been dropping some shows throughout the week. And I do have some scheduled guests right now that I'm looking to have on. So we're working on those. I also will be going out of town, but I will be basically like vlogging it as I'm out of town, and I'll be having that posted up as I'm going. But I'll be going back down to Tijuana to CPI stem cells to get some more stem cells done to my back and my neck. And in that process, I'll be recording it and having you guys come along with me. So little fun that'll happen sometime, in the next week or two, and put that on the YouTube channel so you guys can follow on. Hey guys, hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hit that like and subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications so you guys can keep up what's going on the channel. And also follow my channel, Bad Takes, that I do the show with Angelo. We do random shows throughout the week, normally hot topics that we break down throughout the week. And hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We'll talk soon, man. We're out.